Hi everyone, welcome to this episode of Excel School. Today we are going to learn about if formula in Excel and understand how you can write nested if formulas. That is lengthy if formulas where you can mix one if formula with another to find out a complex condition, to test a complex condition and return one output. So before getting started, let's understand what this if formula is all about. If formula is your way of telling Excel to test a simple condition, like in plain English, we are using if even now. But if the way it works is we use if as a clause or as a condition in even in our thinking or in even day-to-day English usage. So when we say if today is Monday, I'm going to wear black dress, otherwise I'm going to wear my brown dress. Now here the if is working as a condition. If is imposing the condition in our mind, and we are testing what today is. If today is Monday, so if the date of today, the weekday of today is Monday, then we are going to select the black dress, otherwise it will be a brown dress. Similar thinking can be applied to Excel formulas also, and if formula is what we will use if we have to test a condition. See, I think we can hardly get away without using the if word itself. So the way it works is like this. The if formula syntax has three components. I'm going to show it to you here. You can see it. I think the Excel 2007 context help for this formula is pretty good. It says the logical test that you want to perform, what value Excel should give you if the logical test ends up being true, and what value it will give you if the value is false. So let us test this simple condition that we talked today just now. If today, I am just writing in plain English, but is Monday, black dress, otherwise brown dress. So just take a minute and try to look at this formula. What we are saying is if today is Monday, give the black dress, otherwise brown dress. Of course this formula won't work because none of this is a valid Excel statement or name or anything like that, but you get the point. So of course we will try to write a formula that will actually tell you black or brown dress at the end of this tutorial, so don't worry about that. So I'm just going to clear this out, and let us go ahead and try to experiment with few simple if formulas using the sample data that is shown here. For example, you want to see if this employee is from southern region. So if the branch is south, this is how you test the condition. If the branch equal to south, southerner, not. So this is going to test a simple condition. If the value in C4, which is branch value, if it is south, then he is a southerner, otherwise not. Of course he may not be a southerner even though he's working there, but that's a different thing. So, and we need not give this exactly case sensitive value when you are using equal to, because if you are using some other operator then you have to like exact something, then you have to give exact value, but this is very simple. Okay, so this is a very simple if formula. What we are doing is if the text in C4 equal to south, then you have to, we are telling Excel that give value is true, then give southerner, otherwise not. So let us copy the formula here and then paste it here. Now if you remember from our lesson about absolute and relative cell references, you don't know that when you copy the formula from here to here, Excel will automatically adjust the cell reference from here to here. So here in C6 the value is south then southerner, otherwise not. And since the C6 is not south, the value Excel displayed here is not. So this is how a basic if formula works. Now I am sure this is very elementary for some of you because you have been working with Excel formulas. But the important thing to understand here is that if formula remains one of the highly used formulas in Excel, and knowing a bit more about it and knowing how to nest Excel formulas, if formulas with one another, can be a really good improvement in your Excel productivity, because once you know how to write nested if formulas without confusing yourself or without taking too much time, you're going to save a lot of time, because most of the time we end up using if formulas. Okay, so enough about a simple formula. Okay, let us also test some numeric formula like this. If the profit loss is negative, less than 0, loss maker. Okay, so we are saying if the number in D7 is less than 0, that particular employee is a loss maker, otherwise he is a profit maker. So when I copy this formula, Control C, and paste it to this guy here, he becomes a profit maker because this employee is a profit maker. Now one more thing that you may want to remember is, it is not you can just leave the if formula without mentioning anything, like if less. That's this looks like they are optional, but they are not hard. Okay, I'm sorry for that. Yeah, you can actually leave one of the parameters out, not both. So for example, if less than 0, you can just say loss maker and then close this. And what Excel would do is, it is going to show the word loss maker when it is making a less than 0. But if it is not less than 0, then Excel will just display false, meaning the test was false. So this is how it will work. And sometimes you might see this kind of behavior because you have forgotten to include an argument here. You have to pass all the 3 in order to make it meaningful. Of course it will work with 2, and as I wrongly assumed, it won't work with 1 argument. You have to enter both. Okay, so that is a bit more about if formula. Now let us move on to the interesting topic of how you can nest if formulas. Those of you who are not familiar with this terminology called nested ifs, I am going to give a bit more detail. In essence, what it means is, not every test or not every logical condition that you want to check is very simple. Like, if today is Monday, black dress, otherwise brown dress. Some people are really complicated. I mean, for example, I am complicated. I have a weird schedule wherein if it is Monday, I wear black dress. If it is Tuesday, I wear a brown dress. If it is Wednesday, I wear a red scarf, let's say. And then if it is Thursday or Friday, I wear my jeans. Now this is my weekly outfit schedule, if you call so. So let's write down the conditions. If it is Monday, black dress, Tuesday, dress, Wednesday, red scarf, of course along with something, then Thursday and Friday, this is going to be jeans. So as you can see, just going to adjust this a bit more. This is not simple one condition, even though the input for all testing all these conditions is the same, that is what is today's weekday. But you have to test it against 4 conditions before you can eventually determine what is the dress that Mr. Chandu is going to wear today. And this is not just with dress, but it's common in any day-to-day business scenarios. For example, if you have to determine whether an employee is profitable, and for some reason this particular measure could have been defined something like this: if the employee made some profits this month, or if he made losses this month, did he make profits in the last two previous months? If so, he is considered as profitable, otherwise he is considered as a loss maker. So it's not really dependent on how much the employee made this month alone, but it might be dependent on last 2 months also. So this kind of behavior, this kind of logical conditions are very common in real life, and we need to understand how if formula can help us there. Now the beauty is you can actually mix if formulas with one another. So for example, you can write like this. Of course this won't work. If today is Monday, black dress. So if today is not Monday, that is if this condition itself is false, then you have to check today. Here you can write one more if formula. See, as part of the false condition, we are writing one more if formula where we are saying today is Tuesday, brown dress, like that, so on and so forth. I mean, I'm running out of the screen area here, but you get the point that if today is Monday, then use black dress. If today is Tuesday, brown dress. If today is also not Tuesday, by this time it was not already Monday, and now it is also not Tuesday, so it could be Wednesday or Thursday or Friday or even Saturday or Sunday. So we can test these conditions one after another and then eventually construct a very lengthy if formula where we are nesting one if inside another if. That's what nested ifs actually mean. Now this is a very powerful and very useful technique, and this is also a very good thinking tool for us, because whenever we have a problem like this, the one shown here in real world, you can model it as an if nested if formula very simply. So what I would do is, whenever there is a really complicated condition to be tested, of course this itself is fairly complicated, but you might come up with something more complicated or big. Instead of rushing to Excel and trying to write the formula like this, if so on and so forth, it might be a good idea to actually write down the formula conditions on paper like this. What is the condition and then what is the outcome? So that your mind clears up and you clearly define the outcomes or possibilities. This is the condition, this is the output, and then once you have it in this format in a meaningful way, you can write the formulas. Of course, there might be some more complications, so it is important to learn about some of the logical operators. Here we have operators like, for example, if you look at this, this last particular one, what we are saying here is, if it is either Tuesday or if it is either Thursday or Friday, then the dress should be jeans. Now this is not as simple as saying if it is Monday. Now if it is Monday, this is just one simple condition, whereas here we are saying if it is Thursday or Friday, it never can be both days, so it has to be Thursday or Friday. Now this is where we are using the logical operator called or. This is same as what our mental operator or is. Whenever you say what do you want, coffee or tea, and then you are introducing this or operator there. Similarly, what do you want? You want to have this lesson or the next lesson. You are introducing the concept of or. So that is or operator. But you can have something like an and operator also, wherein you are asking for a specific set of criteria to be met. For example, it could be like this: if it is Monday and if the date is 2nd, then I am going to wear my brown dress. So if it is Monday and date is 2nd, now this is a good example of and, where we are saying the weekday is Monday and the date itself is 2nd of the month. So this could happen once every few months or once every year or something like that, and whenever both of these conditions are met, then you have a special outcome defined. So this is called as an AND operator. It is similar to OR, only thing is here you are going to check for the logical condition such that both Monday and the date being second are going to be equal. Now this is going to too much into the basic school math that we all have learned, so I'm not going to get into that a lot. Just be aware that these basic Boolean concepts like AND, OR, and not is negative of whatever is. So if it is not Monday, that is where we are using not. So these basic AND or not concepts will play an important role when you are writing a big nested if formulas. Okay, then that is good. Now the next thing to understand is, see, for this basic logical concepts AND, OR, and NOT, there are simple formulas in Excel called AND. This AND formula will take multiple logical conditions as inputs and then will tell you if all of them are true or any of them is false, then the whole AND will be false. Similarly, there is an OR formula. It will test for multiple logical conditions, and if either of them is true, it will tell true, otherwise it is false. And there is a NOT formula. This will take a condition like, I'll show you an example. So by D14 is already greater than 0, so we are saying not of that. So this condition is tested and it is true, and not of that is false. So that's what you are getting here. If you copy that and then paste it here, since this is not greater than 0, this internal value itself is false, so the not of it is true. So let's clear out a bit and then let us make a lengthy formula. I'm just going to move it here so that I get a little more space here, and I'm going to clear out these values as well. So we are going to actually write a lengthy if formula that is going to tell me what dress I'm going to wear today. Okay, are we ready there? So to begin with, I'm going to introduce few more formulas that will tell us what today's weekday is. So there is a formula called weekday. This is going to tell me the weekday of a given date, and the date has to be today's date. So I'm going to tell today. What is the weekday of today? It says 4. Now if you look at it, today is actually Wednesday, and I'm creating this video on 27th of January. So today is Wednesday, and Wednesday is the 4th day of the week if you start counting from Sunday onwards. Okay, Sunday is first day, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday is 4. So this is the today's weekday, and this is in the cell E8 here. And this is 8. I don't think you can see that, but it's in E8. Okay. Now, so let's get started and write an if formula like this. The first part of the if formula is if E8 equal to 2, the 2 is for Monday, then black dress. Okay, and if E8 is not equal to 2, then it could be that it is 1 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7, any of the possible 7 values for a weekday. So if it is not true, then the next condition I want to test is if E8 equal to 3, then brown. I'll try to keep this short so that we can type out as many conditions as possible. So even if this is also not equal to 3, then we have tested 2 and 3 and still we are in the false area. So we could test the 4. If E8 equal to 4, then the formula is sorry for that, let's go. And then the final condition we need to test is if it is either 5 or 6. Okay, so if it is a Thursday or Friday, that is if it is either 5 or 6, and here we are going to use an OR formula. You might not see the formula as a type because it goes out of the screen area, but I will show the entire formula to you once it is typed. I will just turn on the word wrap so that you can see this. E8 equal to 6. Okay, so the formula is ready, this mega if formula. I'm going to just do some merging and wrap text, and now you can see the whole formula here. So just excuse me, and just take a look at what we have typed here. What I'm saying is, if E8, the value here is 2, then it is black dress. If E8 is 3, that's Tuesday. So here, as part of the original if condition, the first one is logical test 2, then we said value is true, then just black dress. Otherwise, in the false area here we have introduced one more if, and here we are testing if E8 is 3, then brown. Otherwise, again E8 is 4, then red scarf. Otherwise, here is the beauty. What we are saying is, if E8 is 5 or 6, and that's how we are using the OR operator here. We are saying if E8 is 5 or E8 is 6, one of these conditions is true, then make it genes. If nothing is satisfied in all this, that's the last false. I'm saying stay home and get dressed in whatever you please. You don't have to follow a regimen. Okay, so this is a simple if formula that is using lengthy nested combinations. One of the mistakes that we commonly make when we do this is this closing brackets. You might close them in the wrong order, or you might close them somewhere early on. So you have to make sure when you are nesting, you are closing them in the right way. This is just as we think. So that's why I said that, writing down your conditions and the desired outcomes as a small table or even on a paper will help you a lot when you're writing such a big formula. Okay, so let me just goof around with this formula a bit by changing the values here. So if it is Monday, black dress. If it is Tuesday, it's brown. And if it is Wednesday, it's red scarf. If it is a Thursday, it's jeans. If it is a Friday, it's jeans. And if it is a Sunday, stay home. And Saturday, stay home. And then if it is a Sunday, it's stay home. Okay, so you can do this kind of thing. And one of the disadvantages of nesting these formulas is that they try to grow pretty big. So here itself the formula is now fairly big. I won't say this is a really big formula, but this is kind of big enough, and it could eventually lead to some errors if you, let's say, mistype E8 with E7 or something like that. You would hardly notice it if the formula is too big and making references to values in some other Excel spreadsheet or something like that. So it's important to keep the formula as simple as possible while trying to do all the activities. And this is where I would like to tell you that some of us often think that the entire formula has to be in one cell and all the things should be crammed in there. But I am against that philosophy, and I think it is easier if you actually use some helper cells. For example, here we could have used the formula directly like this: weekday of today, instead of making a reference to E8. But I didn't do that because I had to repeat the same formula 1, 2, 3, 4 in 4 different locations in this particular if, and that would make it even more lengthy. So it's easier if you actually make a helper cell like E8, or in our case, and use a portion of formula there, and then use the result of that formula to drive these if formulas here, so that now the if formula is slightly of less length. And another option is, take a deep look at your options here and then see if there is a better way to model this. For example, is there some other formula that we can use, or is the logical conditions themselves can be simplified? Sometimes even a very complicated logical arrangement can be simplified by a bit of thought. It may not always be possible, but you might want to give it a try to keep your formula simple and your model consistent. Okay. And another option that I suggest people to try out instead of an if nested if formula is to use a choose formula. Now a choose formula works like if, except that you can actually give an index number. In this case, let us give this as an index number. I'll just write an example before we explain. So now take a look at this formula. I'm going to what it is trying to say is if E8, here E8 is a number, so we are writing conditions for each of the individual values of E8 like this. If it is 2, then do this. If it is 3, do this. 4, do this. So whenever it is a number, you could use choose formula, which will take an index number in as an input, and then if the input is 1, it will give the value here in this first parameter. If it is 2, then this value. If it is 3, then this value, so on and so forth. So you just have to rearrange your values, and because it's only 7 weekdays, I have put in 7 possible values here, and then the first day of week Sunday and the last day of week Saturday, both days the outcome should be stay home. For the rest 5 days, the values as defined here. So one of the things that you should notice is there is no way to mimic or behavior here, so you have to repeat both values here, genes and genes. But a choose formula might be a bit more cleaner and shorter than a lengthy nested if formula, and you may have to actually manipulate the values a bit so that it works with choose, but that's fine. The reason why you may want to try a choose formula over a nested if formula is that then there is a limitation for nested if, that you cannot use more than 7 if formulas in a nested if. So you cannot nest more than 7 levels deep. Now that's fairly big and fairly complicated logical arrangement in itself, but often we see people doing that. So it might be a good idea to know your alternatives and then explore them as we go along. As I said, there is some limitation with the nested ifs, these seven formulas, as well as they are prone to logical errors, and sometimes you may not even notice that error until that particular logical arrangement is reached. For example, if the date is 2nd and then weekdays Monday, it doesn't really happen every week, so you will only see this once in a while, and then that time if the condition failed, you wouldn't have even noticed that until that particular condition is reached. So it might be easier if you use helper columns and try to reduce the length of formula so that it is easier to understand what the formula is doing, and then maybe debug it or fix it if there is an error, or try alternatives like choose formula when you have a really big nested if. Otherwise, nested ifs are pretty good in themselves because they give you a really good power to test various logical conditions and then define some kind of clear logic as per the rules that your business wants. Some of the common mistakes that people make in this if formulas is that they tend to mistake these brackets, the closing ones, little ones. They tend to misplace them, or they tend to close them early on. So make sure you write your conditions and outcomes like a small table here, so that it clears your mind, and then you can write better formulas. That's it for now. I know it's a pretty big lecture, but then the if formulas play such a pivotal role, and they are like cornerstone for almost any Excel formula based model. So it's important to understand this formula, and I hope you have benefited from this little lecture, and then I will see you in the next lesson in Excel school. Until then, you have a good time. Bye.